Tonight, from the end zone to the fan zone and all seats in between, this is your home for the local sporting update, featuring the voice of the Bradford High School Tornadoes. Welcome to On the Spot Sport News with your host, David Rodgers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to On the Spot with David Rodgers. I'm your host, David Rodgers, alongside Mr. Mitchell Gunner. Great to have you along. Tonight's show is brought to you by Miracle Automotive and Recovery in both Stark and McClinney. Call Kirk and Kenny Miracle at 904-368-1114. Miracle Automotive, where miracles happen every day. Let's get the show started as we always do with our prayer, our pledge, and our patriotic quote. Mr. Mitchell Gunner, if you would be so kind, sir, as to please lead us in the prayer, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure. Bow our heads, please. Lord Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us gather up here today to broadcast the news of our local area to those that may need to hear it. Lord Heavenly Father, please place a hand of protection on everyone during this COVID pandemic, and be with those families who have lost loved ones along the way. Also, Lord, we ask for you to look after our troops in Afghanistan and make sure that you keep them safe, Lord Heavenly Father, so they can come back home to their families. Lord, we just want to thank you for everything that you give us every single day. And, you know, we are your sheep. So we thank you, and we pray this all in your name. Amen.
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 All right. Again, welcome into On the Spot with David Rodgers. I'm your host, David Rodgers. We are going to do the pledge, and I'm going to ask if he would, our producer, Dave Holland, to lead us tonight, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, amen. And welcome in to On the Spot with David Rodgers. As you see, we have no Byron Bagwell with us. We do have Dave Holland, our producer, producing in the back. We got Michael Heater, our director. He's here. Going to have a very, very important weather update, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate for y'all tuning in for that. Also, Mr. Mitchell Gunner's right alongside with me. Mitchell, we got a special guest tonight as well, and you'll be going over that here in just a couple of minutes. All right, shout out to Slice and Dice Barbecue. Of course, they were there today, walking around, looking around. If you haven't eaten at Slice and Dice, please go visit Chris Davis and Casey Napier at their establishment over in Lottie. And there's some great food there. We've all eaten there. And please go and visit Slice and Dice Barbecue.
Best hamburgers in town.
Absolutely. Ribs and chicken, too, I will attest. Hey, don't go anywhere because the Saturday Night Quick and Dirty starts right now.
Here is your quick and dirty news update, sponsored by Harry Business Hairstyling, home of the $10 haircut, Deerfoot Village in Stark.
Here is the quick and dirty for this Saturday night. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office arrested a gang member from Tampa after a dispute between the gang and a young man. Detectives learned that one or more people were on their way from Tampa and began tracking that suspect. A chase began on County Road 310 and County Road 315 when multiple deputies tried to make a traffic stop. Speeds reached up over 100 miles per hour. The chase ended when the suspect's car crashed and rolled over on County Road 315 near the Marion County line. John Cliff Candy, 26, from Tampa, was arrested and charged with aggravated stalking, written threat to kill, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Additional charges are expected as well. Wow. Marion County deputies are warning people to please lock your vehicles following multiple burglaries to a lot of vehicles in that area. Deputies responded to the Orange Blossom Hills community to multiple vehicle burglaries. An investigation revealed 7 unlocked vehicles were entered on Southeast 161st Place, and a total of $620 in items was stolen. That investigation, ladies and gentlemen, is still ongoing as well.
Right. And, you know, about that story, why it's so important to keep your vehicles locked up, especially if you can still carry and you may leave your firearm in your vehicle. That firearm can be used,
yes,
you know, in another crime. And, you know, so be responsible.
A reminder that early voting for the City of Stark election ended today, and Election Day to choose a new police chief will be Tuesday, August 31st. We will be live next Tuesday with the numbers as they come in between the current chief right now, Chief Jeff Johnson, and candidate Bill Murray, which you've both seen on this show already. Life South is pleading for blood donations as their stores reach critically low levels. Right now, Life South says there's a national shortage of type O and type B blood, and local hospitals are backordered, and Life South just doesn't have the blood on hand to give. If you donate blood, you can also receive that COVID-19 antibody test. You can make an appointment at lifesouth.org or by calling 1-800-795-2707. Finally, Louisiana and the northern Gulf Coast is preparing for what could be a devastating Hurricane Ida. Here with the latest as well as that and our local forecast, please tune in and keep tuned in to this section is the Dragon Slayer, Michael Heater. Michael, all right.
This weather report brought to you by Austin's Weather Service out of Keystone Heights. Find Austin's Weather Service on Facebook and have a detailed local forecast sent right to you.
All right, good evening, Dave. Hey, for those of you that have been keeping up with the latest forecast, of course, Austin's Weather Service, myself, we have been tracking a lot of information about the tropics, and we're going to delve into the tropics in just a moment. But first, David's favorite segment coming up right now, it's the Pollen Report. And for those of you looking at the numbers, Monday is going to be the worst day for a while. You can already tell by hearing the rumbling in the background, 9.3 on a scale of 1 to 12. 8.8 on Tuesday. The numbers start to drop off on Wednesday. Why is that? Because we will get a return to some rainy conditions to help clears out the weather. The reason why the numbers are skyrocketing now is because we're in a dry slide. Believe it or not, the wind and the rain that we saw passing through North Florida today was the outer bands of Hurricane Ida.
Wow.
Let's look at the regional forecast, and I'll tell you what we're talking about. Forget the clouds, forget the temperatures, anything like that one. The focus is this hurricane. Folks, make no mistake about this. If you're listening to the show from Tallahassee, Pensacola, Pascagoula, headed all the way over towards Texas, you're going to want to pay attention to local authorities. You need to evacuate the area. If you are south of Interstate 10 in Louisiana, you're already under evacuation orders. Mississippi, I would not be surprised if you end up in the same boat. Alabama, good possibility because the east side of the storm is going to be the strong side of the storm. Folks, I was involved in Hurricane Andrew in 1992 as part of Urban Search and Rescue. I was part of the team that was involved in Hurricane Katrina when we were tracking that in emergency management. Folks, this is on the same level. 140 mile an hour winds expected. A couple of meteorologists are saying this could reach Cat 5 category because of the warm waters and the light wind conditions aloft. Right now, we're staying strong Cat 4. Mitchell Gunner, of course, being who he is, he's saying Cat 4, so we're going with him. But this is nothing to play around with. This is a very serious situation. So if you're in Pascagoula, past Christiane, headed all the way over to Louisiana, even parts of Texas, you need to pay attention to this storm. We will track the latest. We will provide you the updates that you need for the local area if you're tuning in for us. As for Florida, we're looking pretty good. Locally, partly cloudy skies. Look for afternoon thunderstorms rolling in on Monday afternoon, but a return to some decent conditions, although mostly cloudy on Tuesday. Highs are once again reaching that 90-degree mark, but the heat index is going to be pushing triple digits as we go through the next few days. The good news is, of course, is that as we start getting some rain developing on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the pollen count will go down. That'll make Dave a lot happier as well. Once again, lows in the low to mid-70s. That is the latest from Austin's Weather Service. David, we're going to throw it back to you.
All right, Michael, thank you again for that great weather update. And again, man, we're going to give this again before the show ends. Ida, nothing to play with. Michael, you've heard him say it. You've heard him say it with a voice of concern and reason. Right. He's telling you, please pay heed to all weather that you hear. And, of course, we're going to keep you updated as well. You know, Michael, it's funny that we talked about this particular hurricane. David Versace that lives in from Van Cleve, Mississippi, which he has now moved to Louisiana. Mm-hmm. You know, we're supposed to have our 40-year reunion this September 25th. Well, it got canceled due to COVID. Right. But he said before that got canceled that way, he said there was going to be a storm that come through here that would probably run it as well. Bobby dadgum if David Versace wasn't right on the money, huh?
Yeah,
well, and I tell you, Michael, one thing that people also have to pay attention to is those tides. Is it going to be high tide or is it going to be low tide when this thing actually makes landfall?
Right, and brings up a great point here. It's interesting because the mayor of New Orleans has said that if you live within the city and you're within the levee system, you are, quote, probably going to be okay. Not exactly a vote of confidence, but if you live outside of New Orleans, outside the levee system, they have been told, get out now. Do not delay, do not wait, because they are anticipating catastrophic conditions. Now, good point about the tides, and that's something to be aware of. Right now, it's going to, if the storm holds track as it's predicted, it will come right in between a low and high tide event. So, if the storm either speeds up or slows down, depending on the forward motion, it could hit at a high tide, which would, obviously multiply the issues that they're dealing with. If it comes in at low tide, that might give a little bit of improvement. But with a storm this strong in such low-lying areas as the northern Gulf Coast, low tide versus high tide is not going to make that much of a difference if you're dealing with the winds, you're dealing with the torrential rainfall, and the tornadoes. And they are expecting significant tornado outbreak with this system as it moves on shore, predominantly from Pascagoula, moving all the way through, all the way towards Pensacola. Florida is not out of the woods on this one. The rain and wind that we saw in North Florida today and Bradford, surrounding counties here, this was the outflow from this hurricane. This is going to be a massive, very wide covering and wide impacting storm.
Well, I'll tell you, Michael, if the mayor says you'll probably be okay, I'm leaving.
I agree with that.
I would not stay.
Yeah,
I would
me
absolutely leave.
Michael, let me ask you, your weather prognosis here, and you've been doing the weather a long time. Is there anything that can happen right now within the next 24 hours to bring this hurricane down even to a 2 or a 3? Is there anything that you see that could possibly happen to make that happen?
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, because historically you'll see hurricanes that form or move through the Gulf of Mexico, they weaken before they make landfall. We saw that with Hurricane David back in the early 80s. We've seen that with Hurricane Elena. We've seen that with other storms. And it happened with Katrina to a certain extent. It was strong, it weakened, and then, of course, it ticked up again right there. But the problem with this system is that there's usually some type of atmospheric interference or something that affects it. It's usually a low-pressure system that is built off down in Mexico that's causing a little bit of a kick, high pressure ridges that build over the western United States, anything along those lines. That normally helps in affecting these storms. Right now, there is nothing impeding the progress of the storm. It is moving forward. It is not going to slow down. It is not going to get any weaker. Usually you get a little bit of an ebb and flow because the water gets shallower as you move toward shore, and the water temperatures, albeit warm, they don't generate that thrust, that mechanical, almost like that motor, the fuel that adds to it because the water's so shallow. However, water temperatures are pushing 90 degrees in certain areas of the Gulf of Mexico, upper 80s. It doesn't matter if it's shallow or not. It's still going to get the fuel it needs. It is going to make a major impact. And again, as we mentioned, and as Mitchell, you talked about, even though the levee system may protect the city, all that lowland, that marshland area, there is nothing that's going to slow this down. I will tell you, mark my words on this one, Louisiana is going to take a hit, but I will tell you who else. Mitchell, tell me, who else is going to suffer from this one severely? It is Tennessee, folks.
Yeah.
Tennessee's looking at 15 inches of rain
because
come Monday
of the
into
route
Tuesday.
that it's going to be swinging over
And it's
way.
expected to possibly stall out over Tennessee. You're looking at 10 to 15 inches of rain on top of the flooding conditions they've already had.
Yeah.
If you thought you had problems beforehand with urban search and rescue and loss of life and everything in Tennessee, folks, brace yourself for 2.0, because this is going to be a wide-ranging storm. When I said wide-ranging, I'm not just talking about the Gulf Coast. We're talking about impacts into Tennessee, moving into the Carolinas, possibly Virginia. We'll see flooding conditions because of the storm, because of its forward motion, and then eventually it could stall out. Reason for that is there is a frontal boundary that's moving out of the Pacific Northwest, but I don't think it's going to move fast enough to really kick this thing out in a timely fashion. That is subject to change. We're having to wait and see. Depends on the high pressure ridge over Saskatchewan that's going to have effect on this one. But I am concerned that this is going to have long-ranging effects, and it's going to make a national impact from the northern Gulf Coast all the way to the mid-Atlantic, Piedmont area, all the way up potentially into New England.
Into New England,
Well,
that's what I was going to
the only
say.
thing they can hope for in Louisiana, if it goes through one of those eyewall recycle events,
Yes.
because when it does
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it loses some power, and hopefully it'll do it right before it goes on land, you know, and maybe that'll bring the winds down a little bit.
If there's an advantage to this, if there's a bright spot to Hurricane Ida, it is this. Once it makes its way over the marshland, it is expected to lose hurricane status quickly. Within 12 hours, it's expected to drop from a Cat 4, potential Cat 5, down to a 1, or even a tropical storm in 24 hours as it makes its way into northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and Louisiana. So that's not saying a whole lot for you. I mean, I hate to say that, but this is a concern that we've got, is that, you know, the entire state is going to feel the effects of this one. And it is very possible that the areas east of, you know, St. Charles, or not St. Charles, but that area right where the storm's coming in, Morgan City, Louisiana, that area there, areas east of that, including New Orleans, you know, past Christiana, Mississippi, all those areas going all the way to Pensacola, you guys are
Biloxi, Gulfport, all those areas.
Every one of you are going to be on the strong side of the storm. And again, heed the warnings and the words of local officials. If you're in an evacuation zone or if you've been told to evacuate, get out. Don't ride this one out. You hear other people say, "Oh, it's not going to be bad." Folks, this is bad. Make your plans. Make your plans to get out of the community as quick as possible.
Tom Bailey and Ty Jordan are watching. John Probst is watching. We just we'll talk about that here in a little bit, Michael. Okay. Where we were at today. Marvin Tomlinson's on. Austin Stevens is on. Renee Stegall's on. And I hope, Renee, you took heed to what we just said. Mainly you and some of the other great listeners that we have over on the Gulf Coast area over there. So please take heed to all that. Mary Ratcliffe's on. Samantha Lynn's on. Phil Jackson is on. Kevin Howe's on. Bart Norton, he's over in Utah. He's out of harm's way right now. Byron Bagwell, good evening, brothers, sisters, patriots, infidels, and miscreants, of course. So Byron could be here with us tonight. He had to work. Janet's on. I work with Janet over at New Millennium. Stacy Aldridge is on. Hey, Stacy, how are you? Barbara Zipper from Lake Butler's on. Jeff Riggins, who I work with, is on as well. Billy Rayberg, hope he's on his meds tonight. David Prescott's on. Lorenzo Jones is on. Roger Cruz is on. Stephanie Clark Merrill's on. Austin Stevens says, to be perfectly honest, I don't think the levee systems are going to hold. We're looking at waves of 20 feet already, according to offshore buoys.
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. Joe Starling is watching. Renee Stegall-Shaw said, traffic exiting New Orleans, Louisiana's backed up. On I-10 headed east all across Mississippi. Contraflow is not being enacted. Lots of frustrated drivers and heavily backed up traffic already.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you know, since, you know, tonight we're talking about sports.
Yeah.
Jerry Savoy, which is a pro stock motorcycle rider, he has a farm, and they like to recycle the life down there in Louisiana with the gator wildlife and stuff like that. So you know what he's doing probably right this minute?
Oh, yeah.
They're going out there to the marshland, and they're gathering up all the eggs.
Oh, yeah.
The alligator eggs and stuff, and he tries to replenish, you know, that area, especially after Katrina, his efforts there to replenish the marshlands and all of that. And, you know, Jerry Savoy, he's going to be doing that again. And thank goodness that there's people out there like that that try to replenish our wildlife.
Vincent Tucker, yes, sir. Good evening to you guys as well. I am feeling a little bit better, but you can hear it still. It's draining pretty good on me. Tiffany Clark Ford is on. Austin Stevens says, Renee Stegall-Shaw, there needs to be. Agreed, but government agencies didn't start the process soon enough, and they're already right in the middle of it. It's coming from Renee. Let's see. Austin, Mac Johns, Roy Jackson. Ready? Tammy Testone is on. 1, 2, 3. Hello, Alvy! All right. Let's get on with the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special guest on tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Mitchell Gunner and tell who this young lady is, and she's going to be joining us here real soon.
Sure, we have Katie Sinnis. She's a public relations person for Jim Dunn Racing, and she also helps out with a lot of other teams in the alcohol ranks, funny car funny car alcohol and also alcohol fuel cars. So she's going to share with us tonight about what's going on behind the scenes at Jim Dunn Racing and leading up to the U.S. Nationals, also known as the Big Go. It is actually NHRA's version of Daytona for NASCAR. Right. So up there in Indianapolis. So I'll tell you what, whenever you're ready, we'll give her a ring. I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the football game last night.
I will talk about the football game a little bit last night. If y'all have all tuned in, which y'all all did, the Bradford Tornadoes suffered their first loss of the season, his first game opening season, 2021. And we had it here at home, David Hurst Stadium. Coach David Hurst, we did that game in honor, of Coach Hurst. Excuse me. And he's looking at us from the heavens above. Great man, great coach, great mentor. And the young Tornadoes come out there and played their hearts out. But let's face it, Baker County just reloaded there a little bit. They played with discipline, they played with moxie, they played with heart, and they beat our Tornadoes 28-18. Seen some life and improvement out of the Tornadoes in the second half. Y'all guys were at the game. I think you've seen it too. When Shanks came into the game, gave us a little spark there toward the end. We scored a couple of touchdowns. We left some points out there on the board. 5 points we left on the board. You add that 5 to the 18, that's 23. You take away 4 points that we gave Baker County, that's 24-23. And that game's a little closer than what people think. Does it play out that way? Who knows? Anyway, a lot of things that we can improve on. Offensive line, definitely. Snapping of the ball. The quarterback didn't get a lot of crisp snaps. So we're going to be working on those kind of things. Again, O-line improvement. I thought the receivers did a decent job. They should have caught a lot more balls than what they did. It hit them right in the wrong place. They try to use their body to catch instead of their hands. And it just bounced off those shoulder pads and just couldn't grab it. So the defense played lights out. I thought they did all game. Bend and don't break, really, because didn't that game, Mike, David, to you guys, that game could have easily been 49-6. It felt it to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Watching from the end zone, what I took from it, and just my perception was that I think both teams went into this game with a let's kind of soft step this in. Let's get our feel. Let's not go into anything. Don't want to have any injuries. Don't want to do anything. Let's just kind of feel our own team out. Right. Find our strengths, find our weaknesses, and then know what to improve as we go into week 2 and week 3.
Right.
I think that had either team come out aggressively, they would have won. I think had Baker been more aggressive, they'd have slaughtered us, like you said.
Yeah. They left many opportunities out there.
But with that being said, I think that had the Tornadoes, put forth a little more off the cuff, a little more aggressive, a little more out of the box thinking, I think they'd have taken it. But I have to give credit where credit is due. Based on what I watched, you're looking at a team that is, while still solid, is still rebounding from some great players that moved on last year. So you're going to get they've got to get they're going to get their feet wet. They're going to feel their way through this one. I think the telltale will be next week. I think Lake Butler and Union County is going to be a solid game. I think that the proof's in the pudding when it comes to Union versus Bradford. If we don't take advantage of our strengths and we don't work on our weaknesses,
it's going to be loss number 2.
And it's going to be a very long season for us.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, Mitchell. Well, what did you see?
Well, the one thing I seen was when we got into the fourth quarter, I seen the work of these young men of not just bending backwards and letting them be ran over. I seen a little bit of moxie out of them, that they kept on playing, and it paid off. We got a couple of scores, got 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
With them, staying on their game plan, say, hey, we're gonna do our best. We're not going to break.
Right.
And we're going to build on some momentum for the next game. That's what I seen in that fourth quarter. And they scored those 2 last touchdowns pretty dang quick.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Michael hit it right on the head. You and him both. We actually outplayed them in the second half. We outscored them 12-7 in that second half.
Right.
I mean, so we really outplayed them. So this ought to be a carryover on some momentum. Remember, this team is still young. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors. Yes, I know Mari Jones, the quarterback, is a senior. Comes in here with high accolades. But, man, you got to have an offensive line, man, to protect you, to be able to throw the ball. And we know the kid's got a rocket and a cannon. Did you see a couple of those throws, Mike, last night?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. The one receiver went, ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was coming in there like a rocket.
It was hot.
Yes, it was. So he's got a cannon, but you gotta give him time. I sort of agree with Michael and you, Mitchell. Yeah, Bradford wanted to win that game, of course. So did Baker County. It's bragging rights. You want to win that game. But as far as your season goes, that's not going to make or break your season. Right. They're 5A, we're 1A. Hey, take that, build on it, like you said, from the second half. Carry it over to the Union County game, because I'm telling you, gentlemen, right now, Union County's made the playoff 3 years in a row. They've gotten just as far as we have, and they've got athletes. We've traded athletes back and forth.
Right.
So they've got some athletes from us. We got some athletes from them. Ought to be a good game in Union County. And if the Tornadoes don't come to play, it could be 0-2. And like Michael said, now we're starting to look for momentum again.
Well, and the thing is, we can't go year after year after year of losing the first 2 or 3 games and then catching on fire.
Right.
They're in the 4th game to try to salvage the season.
Right.
You have to do that kind of right up front.
Yeah.
If you want to be very competitive,
yes,
and you want to have the opportunity of winning districts and regions and going on the state,
right,
you can't backpedal at the beginning of the season. You got to be dead on, come out there ready to play from day one.
I agree.
So what they need to do, they need to just totally forget what happened this past Friday night, wipe it away.
Yep.
Your season's 0-0, starting
right
all
now.
back over.
Yep.
Go into Union County, pick up that win.
Yes.
And build that momentum from there on.
Yep.
And try to stay ahead, because our schedule
sets up for it. And it's hard.
It's hard, but opportunities.
Are there.
Look at how many home games?
7
home games.
Yep.
Very unheard of for high school football, for you to be able to have 7 home games.
You can still go 6-1 in these 7 home games.
Oh yes.
There's definitely dealings that we can do on that as well. So enough about the Bradford Tornado football.
Sure.
We'll talk more about that on Tuesday. I'll tell you what. Let's get our guest on, Mitchell.
Sure, we are calling her right now.
All right.
And I know she's excited to join us.
I hope so, and I hope our viewers are excited too. I'll let you in. It's Katie Sinnis, right?
That is correct.
Hello.
Hello, is this Katie Sinnis?
This is. It signs, though.
I hear ya. It does. This is David Rodgers, host of On the Spot with David Rodgers, sitting right alongside Mr. Mitchell Gunner. I've got our director, Michael Heater, and our producer, Dave Holland, with us tonight. I want to thank you for taking time to join us on our live podcast here tonight. And again, thank you very much for tuning in with us and coming on with us.
Of course, of course.
Well, Katie, I want to ask you a question. What attracted you to drag racing in the first place?
Drag racing has literally been in my life since before I was born. I guess I've always been attracted to it, you could say. My grandparents, they drag race snowmobiles before I was even born, and my mom did, and it was just like a huge thing. And my grandpa became best friends with Dale Creasy Sr., which late Dale Creasy Sr., he drove a nitro funny car. So I guess I remember when I was small and we were sneaking in the back of the trailer getting into races because there was 2 families and, they obviously didn't check the back of the trailers. So we were just sneaking in, and my mom dated an alcohol dragster. He drove an alcohol dragster. When I was in elementary school, and they broke up, and I kind of just got away from it, and I found my way back to it, I guess you could say.
All right, all right. Katie, I know we started off with a great question that Mitchell already had up for us, but for people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from? Are you married? All these things here that our great viewing audience would like to know about you personally.
I live in Illinois, Addison, Illinois, about 20 miles south of Chicago.
Okay.
I'm not married. I do have a boyfriend. His name is Neil.
Okay.
Hello, Neil.
Hello, Neil.
He's not here.
Well, I know you actually took your boyfriend to a race here recently so he could see what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so I had a weekend off from the NHRA circuit, and we went to Night Under Fire, which is in Ohio, which is only about 5 hours away. And I've never been to that event myself, so I said, why not? Let's go for the weekend and see because I'm taking him to the U.S. Nationals, the big go. So I wanted to ease him in a little bit into something smaller, so he's not super overwhelmed at the big go.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's a big event that's coming up. I was telling our viewers, the big go for NHRA is like Daytona for NASCAR. You have more people there than you do normally at any other track, especially when it comes to competitors.
Yes, the Big Go is it's very historical in our sport. It's the countdown is what we're going into, which is something you really want to clinch for the countdown. It's 1.5 points for this race for the pros. Not too sure about any other category, but I do know for the pros it's 1.5 points. So, everyone's wanting to get that one qualifier, that next round win to get those extra points going into the countdown.
Exactly. How long have you been involved in a racing industry?
I started working with the Dave Harada Motorsports in 2018, I want to say. And since then, I've just been go with racing. But before that, I haven't worked. I was just, my family just was involved with it before that. So since 2018, I've been working directly with it.
Well, can you discuss some of the in and outs of being the public relations person? Like the things that you do during race day. If someone was in your shoes. And I know that right now you're working for Jim Dunn Racing, but you also work with other teams as well.
Correct. So if I have an alcohol team that I am working with that weekend, they typically get kind of the crappy end of the stick and have to run earlier or later. And so if I'm working with one of them, I typically get to the racetrack about 7 or 8. I just get all of my equipment ready. I make sure everything's charged. I want to get, behind the scenes. Fans really love the behind the scenes stuff of what goes on at the racetrack. And they also love the on track stuff, but it's fun to see what goes on behind the scenes. So, if I'm doing one of those alcohol teams, then I'm at their pit, and then I'm going to the starting line, and then I'm right back to the nitro pits doing the same exact thing, and it's just a full circle all day because they run typically back to back. It's typically alcohol cars than nitro, except on race day, nitro goes first. So it's a good shade to.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Katie, we got some of your pictures up there as we're scrolling it on Facebook Live here. I had a viewer ask me, they said, hey, is she part Italian or part Spanish or both? What's your background? What's your nationality background?
I am German.
Oh.
And I want to say Irish because my hair is red, obviously, but my grandma's adopted, so she's not quite sure.
I got you. I guess it's because of the dark hair they seen on you in those couple of pictures, and I guess you had that tan, so everybody, like, they just assume that we're, Italian or Spanish or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that has to be a filter, whatever picture, because I am white as could be.
Okay, that's great. We got Katie Sinis on with us, NHRA, involved behind the scenes, public relations, things like that, Mitchell. I've got a question for you, Katie.
Yeah.
How many teams have you been involved with? Because at the Gator Nationals, I know you were working with Mike Butcher and a alcohol team.
Oh, man, I don't know how many I've been involved with, but I could probably say 5 to 6. I went to the Night Under Fire race for Mike Booker. He raced that event, so I went and I did some stuff for him as well. And then Tom Fox Jr., I do some stuff for him. He's a blown alcohol car. Dale Creasy Jr. and I'm trying to think here. Obviously Jim Dunn. I worked on Harada Motorsports team for 2 seasons. So, and I do have to give a shout out to that team. It's a pretty badass team over there they got going on. So. I was really thankful, and I give all the credit in the world to Dave. I've known Dave for going on 14 years now, so that's where my career started, and I have to give him all the thanks in the world.
Our producer, Katie, wants to ask you something. His name's Dave Holland, so he's got a question for you.
Okay.
Hello, Katie. I was wondering if you can give us an idea of what a normal day is for you.
Like at the racetrack or at home?
Absolutely, at the racetrack. What do you do for a living? And give us a normal day of.
Good question.
Well, a normal day would just be
I know you get up at 7:30 and you show up at the track.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
He said that he knows that you show up around 7:30 at the track.
At the track.
Yeah, so I get up, I go to the track, I typically eat breakfast. We have breakfast at the track normally, or we pick it up on the way. And, I don't work on the car, so if I'm not doing anything media-wise, or I'm trying to come up with different new things, exciting things, because it's kind of all the same stuff, so it's hard to come up with new exciting things to get new viewers involved. So I'm just trying to come up with that. I do about 20,000 steps a day at the racetrack.
Wow.
I don't have a little scooter or anything to ride around on, so I'm just walking around to the starting line, all the pits, everything. I make my ways around to say hi to all my friends. So it's
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I tell you, I've seen her in action working.
Yeah.
And you cannot ask for a harder working person than Katie.
Well, some of these pictures I'm looking at tells me she's right on the ball.
And I tell you, if these teams need anything that she works for, she will jump in there and she will take care of it.
Make it happen.
She is that type of a person. And to go ahead and let our viewers know, the reason why we had Justin Ashley on our show was because of Katie.
Nice.
Reaching out with her and making that whole thing work.
Thank you very much for that one.
She's always working. I know we've seen her at the Gator Nationals. She interacts really well with the fans. Zane really enjoys seeing her. He was able to get into the Top Fuel car of Mike's there at the Gator Nationals, and man had a big old smile on his face from ear to ear. And we actually took some pictures with Katie there in that pit area. So she's always on the go.
That's very
I appreciate that.
And I like what y'all try to do on the public relations side is to try, like you said, come up with other ways to grab the attention and make life life, fans for NHRA, because there for a while NHRA was getting to the point where it was just mostly the older people in the stands, and y'all are doing y'all's job because it has started catching back on fire of seeing younger people come to the track, younger adults, parents bringing their kids, and so I think it's really working because these kids are the future of our sport. It doesn't matter if they become a top fuel driver or alcohol driver, but if they fall in love with the sport, they can always become a sportsman racer or a bracket racer in the ET series, and that helps grow our sport.
No, you're absolutely right, and I can't recall ever meeting someone and being like, ugh, no, I don't like this.
Right.
There's never not one person that I have met at the racetrack, well, this is boring, because there is not one single thing that could be boring about drag racing.
Right. And a lot of people, they don't, they watch it on TV. They see the guys in the pit areas, for just a little glimpse of a few minutes working on the car. And once they go out there, they see how much of a team effort it is. It's not just the driver, it's everybody. You have to have a team of everybody. The guys working on the supercharger, the top end, the bottom end.
Right.
Your transmission guys setting up the clutches and stuff in the cars. Y'all
Right.
running around.
I tell you what, these guys out here, they work their butts off. They are the glue to all of these teams, and to me, they are all like family. I couldn't be out there if I didn't have them, because they are family to me, and they are the glue to these teams. They drive these trucks. They set up these, they set up the pits. They do everything from top to bottom. So they work their butts off.
Hey, Katie, I forgot to do something at the beginning of the show. So if you don't mind me doing it right now, how good are you with your history?
What kind of history?
About U.S. history, founding fathers, quotes, things like that.
I'm okay, I guess.
All right. Well, I forgot to do the quote of the week. So do you mind if I do that with you right now?
That's fine.
All right, listen up. Who said this? The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. It was a founding father of ours.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
Dave, let's start it off with you and help Katie out. Who do you think that was?
Say that again.
The price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
And he's a founding father.
Yes, he is.
I'd have to say John Adams.
All right, you like John Adams. Michael?
I'm going to go... I'll go Thomas Jefferson.
You're going Thomas Jefferson. All right, that's a good one. What are you going to do?
I'm going Thomas Jefferson.
All right. Katie, you got two Thomas Jeffersons and a John Adams.
I'm going to do Thomas Jefferson, too. I'm going to go.
You're going to go with the crowd.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Y'all are absolutely correct. That was Thomas Jefferson that said that.
I was close.
How about that, Katie? You're 1 for 1 right here.
Wow.
There we go.
There you go. All right, let's move on. Hey, see, none of the others got any of them. Well, we didn't play with the others either.
Well, we did.
Yeah, we'll have to. So Katie is leading the board right now. She's on the leaderboard. She's 1 for 1.
There you go.
Have you ever gave it any thought of working in any other racing organization? For an example, NASCAR, IndyCar, any of those, motorcycles, anything like that?
I'm not a big NASCAR fan, so I don't have to take NASCAR out of that.
All
But
right.
I think it would be really cool to work somewhere within IndyCar F1. I've recently became a big fan of F1, so that would be really cool to work with something like that.
May I ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot per se, what is it about NASCAR that you don't like? It just never really interested you, or just...
Yeah, it's never really interested me. Drag racing's been part of my life forever, and I guess I've never really been to a NASCAR race in person, but I don't like watching it on TV. I guess it's not interesting to me.
I got you. No, great answer.
Hey, I'm the same way. I'm big time NHRA. I will watch some NASCAR every once in a
Yes, you
while.
will, because we talk about it.
And I definitely might have to watch NASCAR a whole lot more if my nephew continues
Yes.
his career in racing, because he runs the Legend cars, and he's actually up in Raleigh right now racing as we are talking. So I may have to start watching a little bit more of it.
Katie, if you want to follow somebody,
there's
that's Brody Gunner.
Brody Gunner. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I got another question for you. If there was an opportunity for you, would you like to race in one of the pro categories? And if so, what class?
Yeah, so Mike Booker, he has a super comp car that hopefully someday this summer or whenever I get around to it, I can hop in there and get my license. I would get in anything. There's about 3 things that I would not get in or on, and it's a motorcycle, a funny car, and a pro mod. Those are 3 things that I would not touch.
Yeah, I tell you what, pro mods, they are a beast, and they are a beast to handle, and of course, you probably had seen the fire that Erica Anders was in because of some issues with the fuel pump would not shut off, and the fire just kept on raging, and I tell you, pro mod is a class of itself. It's pretty wild.
It is. It's super unpredictable, that class is.
Definitely.
All right, Katie, last question from me, and I'll go around the panel here. At the end of the day, what do you enjoy the most about your job?
The people and the fans. The fans, they are the most dedicated fans I think that I have ever met. They sit out there in that sun all day, and they just love it. They come back every year, year after year, and just my family that I have out there. Jonna Dunn, which is granddaughter of Jim Dunn. She's my best friend, and I met her through racing. So that Jim Dunn family, they're really something else, and they've become my family. So just the family that I have out there is undescribable.
Hey, Katie, one of our fans, his name is Ray J. He does some work for another show called Z and Tuck that goes on in Phoenix, Arizona on Thursday nights, real late, right about 10:30 or so Eastern time. But he wanted me to ask you a question. He says, ask her, what's a funny car? Is it a Prius?
I get this question a lot.
Good one, Jay.
A funny car, yeah. I'll have to use that one. I'm gonna start saying it's a Prius.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Ray J, you get props on that one, brother. He says NASCAR. He agrees with Katie. Too many left turns, not enough right turns.
Right.
And I tell you what, one thing that's different, a lot different between NHRA and NASCAR, is that the horsepower.
Yes.
You got 2 cars side by side. You're looking at 30,000 horsepower running down the track, and when stuff goes wrong, it's a lot of fire, and it gets a little crazy, especially with the.
Right, and the pits. Our pits are completely open. You don't have that with any other sport. You can walk through our pits. You can watch these guys tear down the motors, and you can meet the drivers. You can shake hands with the drivers. So it's very fan friendly, and I think that's what attracts a lot of fans to the sport as well.
Katie, I asked that question to Mitchell Gunner one day when we were talking to several other of your constituents. By the way, we've had several of your, if I would like to call them compadres, that are in the same field as you are. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's so friendly like that, and so open like that within HRA?
It's always been like that since I can remember. I remember my mom stopped John Force and Robert Haight on their scooter when I was, 7 years old, and I was wearing a crew shirt, and so John Force didn't want to signed the crew shirt, so he took his hat off and signed it, and Robert Height signed it. So I still have John Force's hat, that they signed because they didn't want to sign a crew shirt. So it's just always been a sport that's been very open to the fans and very fan-friendly.
Right. And the drivers, they're just so down to earth, that they're on the same level as the fans. And I was out there for a rain delay at the Gator Nationals one year. I can't remember what year it was, and actually Robert Height won that event on a Monday. And I'm standing over there by the pits, and John's like, "Hey, you want to come with us down there to Winner's Circle and watch us get pictures and stuff?" I'm like, "Heck yeah!" So I went on down with them, and watched it, and they gave me a couple of hats. I mean, everyone's down to earth,
Yeah, they wear, they're just, I know it's like weird to say it, but they're normal people just like everyone else out there. They just drive cars that go 12,000 horsepower, So,
right.
It's definitely a sport to brag about.
Right, and they try to grab every opportunity that they have, on that level. I'll give you an example to our viewers. Jack Beckman, super great guy, funny car driver, champion. He didn't have a sponsor, so he had to go back to his day job as an elevator technician.
Right,
so
and it's not. You can't. This isn't a sport that you can just say, "Hey, I'm going to go do this one day." It takes a lot of money, a lot of work to do, and to put together. And someone that does a really good job is Alex Laughlin. He put together a top fuel deal within, I think, like a week or something like that, and he got his top fuel license within like a week. So, people have the die hard to do it, and they do, and they go out there and they work their butts off at it, and it's not easy. So, when they get the chance to do it, they really take it.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things here. Renee Stegall-Shaw said, 500 miles in a circle never impressed me either, Katie. Give me road rallies. Yeah, now I hear some others saying yes. Michael Box is watching us, and Todd Jordan's asked if she is a local. No, she's from Illinois. What part of Illinois again, Katie?
Addison.
Okay, yeah, just right outside of Chicago there.
Yep.
So... anybody got anything for any questions? Dave, are you good?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I was very impressed, Katie. Thank you.
Yeah, we were very impressed, Katie. We want to thank you for the time that you've given us tonight on a busy Saturday night. I know you probably got plans and things that you've got to do, but we want to thank you for taking time with us. It was great, and I hope you can join us again on another show, maybe another episode here coming up in the near future.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me. This Jim Dum team, hopefully we can get her done at the U.S. Nationals. So
I tell you what,
hopefully to see some people out there.
Y'all have actually done very well here recently.
We went to the semi. I don't have the stats in front of me, but we went to the semifinals in Pomona. I want to say I wasn't there for this Western Swing, but pretty sure it was Pomona. We went to semifinals and. Brainerd, we didn't run one qualifying in Brainerd, but we had a 4:23, I think, for first qualifying. I'm pretty sure. I don't have the stats in front of me right now.
Yeah, I know they've been making some really good moves over there, and and I want to thank you again for having the opportunity to come on the show and share your experience with our viewers and with us. And I got one more question. I'm gonna let you go. I take Eric and Anders and them donuts every year at the Gator Nationals.
Yeah.
What kind of donuts that you like?
Oh man, I like Krispy Kreme donuts, just like the regular glazed ones.
Just the regular glazed ones. That's what I take them every year. I'll take them a few dozen, and I'll drop a dozen by to y'all at the Gators.
Katie, he's trying to butter you up. Listen here. He's trying to butter you up because he's trying to get your attention away so you'll take Erica Enders away, and he is going to steal her car and take it to his house.
Hey, you can never say no to donuts.
So blind her with donuts.
Blind her with donuts. Thank you, Katie, very much.
Thank you.
You have a good evening now.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
Bye.
It's Katie there. Hey, nice work there, Mitchell. Got you another one on the hook there with some NHRA public relations girl. Seems like she knows what she's doing.
I tell you what, like I said, man, she works her butt off. I've seen it in person. You know, running from one pit area to the other pit area, running up to the starting line.
Right.
You finish just like she said, running back to one of the alcohol teams. You know, hard work pays off.
Yeah,
so, and I hope
thank
her
Katie
well
for
of
coming.
getting in that comp car, getting her license, and hopefully driving in some events. And
Absolutely.
I'd like to see her race at the Gator Nationals in it. You know?
That would be nice. Don't forget those glazed donuts.
And maybe I could be her public relations person when she runs.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Hey, we've got that 8 o'clock. All you people that are tuning in on the Gulf Coast, we have the 8 o'clock update on IDA right now. How about it, Mr. Michael Heater? Let's go ahead and go with it.
Okay, well that's fine too. We'll forego
Yeah,
the final
I'll close it
comments
up.
then, and we'll move right on then. So, Super Dave Holland, let's throw the latest radar up there. Let me give you the latest on this one. The 8 p.m. advisory, not a lot of changes from what we got several hours ago. The high of Hurricane Ida, it is still moving off to the northwest at about 16 miles per hour. It's going to continue this path. Folks, New Orleans, it's expected to make landfall just west of New Orleans, putting hurricane force winds 30 miles from landfall of the eye eastward. Probably all the way around, but I know on the eastern side it could be 30 to 40 miles. The eye is expected to pass over Baton Rouge. It will cause a significant impact all the way up. Again, Tuesday morning, it's making its way up through Mississippi. It is eventually going to come to Tennessee. It is going to dump a lot of rain in that area. Folks, you need to be prepared for it. But let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about tomorrow night. As you can see, this system has become very symmetrical. We have a very defined eye. The eye wall is becoming very apparent. Mitchell hit on a very good point, though. We're going to see eye wall regeneration cycles. This happens with every hurricane. If the storm continues on the path that it is, at this point, it looks like we will go through a regeneration cycle just before landfall. And that is the saving grace as to why it will remain as a Cat 4 hurricane, not a Cat 5 hurricane. Now, if this changes up in any way, shape, or form, we could see Cat 5 conditions, but Mitchell hit it right on the head with his prognostication. You're going to see a regeneration cycle of the eye wall prior to landfall. With that being said, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft have been in the storm all afternoon. The pressures are continuing to drop. Winds are at 105 miles per hour now with gusts up to 130. And this is expected to increase in intensity quickly over the next 12 hours. I would not be surprised, folks, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you get the 5 a.m. advisory, you're looking at 130 mile per hour winds, gusts to 150, 140 mile per hour winds as it makes its way onshore west of New Orleans. Folks, we're talking about hurricane force winds extending all the way through Louisiana. The risk of levee failure does exist. The National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service out of Biloxi both have said this is a possibility, and that's the reason why the mayor of New Orleans has said you'll probably be safe, but they're not taking any chances. Tropical storm force winds are expected to reach Pensacola. Tropical storm warning remains in effect all the way to the Florida state line. So just because we are in this part of the state, it doesn't mean that you're going to be, that we're free. As a matter of fact, Dave, flipping back over to the other graphic, I want to show you guys. Look over on the far right-hand side.
Yeah.
You see the red high, the colder cloud tops over Florida. Those are part of the outer bands that move through. The wind that we felt today, that was due to this hurricane. Make no mistake about it, folks. This is going to become a monster storm. It's very compact, but it's going to kick with a really, really punch that's going to really have a significant impact as it makes its way onshore tomorrow night. Why this is a concern? Because the worst of the storm is going to hit during the night. You're not going to see the water rise. You're not going to recognize the threat until it happens. That's why you've got to rush to completion your preparedness plans and your evacuation plans. Mitchell.
Do you know what the millibar level is right now? Is it in the 800 range?
It's not. It's not yet. No, and it would. The strongest hurricane on record was 930.
That's
right.
So, but with that being said, I can tell
It's
you that
about
with,
975 right now.
yeah,
Mike?
you're looking at 969 millibars,
See,
so it's
yeah.
about 28.6 inches of mercury.
Read.
But 940 in the morning,
Yeah.
at 940 millibars in
Right,
the morning, I would expect to see that.
Right.
I think this is going to become. It was Hurricane Gilbert, if
Yes.
I recall, 7-8 years ago. Wait, I remember. Anyway, Hurricane
2012,
Gilbert.
2013.
So one of those. Hurricane Gilbert was the strongest hurricane based on the drop in barometric pressure as it made its way across the Caribbean and struck Mexico. This could. It's going to get close. I don't think it's going to get that low. It is still going to drop though. And when you see the pressure dropping, that's when the wind speed increases. It's a direct proportional. And so watch this. The pressures are going to drop overnight. I would not be surprised if this thing goes from a Cat 1 to a Cat 3 in the next 12 hours.
No, it possibly will.
And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, why are we hitting this so hard? Because first and foremost, Dave, Michael, and Mitchell will test, and Byron, we love all our fans everywhere. We are concerned with any kind of disaster that is happening. The fires in California to this devastating possible hurricane right here. We want you to take heed, take the necessary precautions, and like Michael, Mitchell, Dave has said, get out. Get out. Don't worry about anything. Get out.
Yeah, and let me explain the reason why. And this goes back to what Mitchell was saying earlier. Folks, wind is bad. Rain is bad. But here, listen to these numbers that we're getting from the National Hurricane Center. Morgan City, Louisiana, up to the Mississippi River.
Yes.
Storm surge of 10 to 15 feet are expected.
That's what kills people.
That's exactly, it is the storm surge.
Surge.
But we're talking about the areas along the Mississippi coast, 4 to 7 feet, all the way to the Alabama border. And Florida, you're looking at 2 to 4 foot storm surge in Pensacola. So this is a very wide-ranging storm, and this is going to be a concern. Now, here's the thing that we talked about. Mitchell hit on this big thing here. The water is expected to reach these heights if the peak storm surge occurs during the time of high tide. Therein lies the issue.
Well, we talked about
this. So these are worst-case scenarios. Plan on this being what happens.
Yes.
It's always better to expect the worst and hope for the best. In this case, 10 to 15 foot storm surge coming in, you're not going to be. And just to put it in relationship, folks, 15 foot of storm surge is the top of your attic in a single story house. It reaches the ceiling of a 2-story house. Yeah. So this is going to be a massive storm. I don't normally hammer on these things because, we've seen these things before. We have prognostications. We look at this sort of thing. This is a Katrina. This is an Andrew. This is going to be a devastating storm, not just along the coast. I'm talking all the way into Tennessee. Folks, if you have family or friends that are in the path of the storm, warn them, tell them, you got 21 hours to get out. And as it was already reported, traffic is backing up.
Yep.
If you do not have a plan now, I suggest you work on one quickly and put it into action.
Right. And I tell you what, Michael, how you can tell how strong that hurricane is becoming, because right now the sun is probably still hitting it, so you can see the images on radar real well, is the cloud heights around the eye wall. When you see those big thunderstorms rising, the clouds around that wall, it is a strong hurricane.
And the concern on this radar, if you look at those radar images, for those of you that are watching on this one, you'll notice the coldest cloud tops are the purples and the dark browns. And that's on the west side of the storm. As it starts to spin around and increases in strength, when it starts to wrap up, it is going to really, that's what you're waiting for, is when you see those purples and those deep, almost brown-looking storm clouds building up, the color codes. When it starts to wrap around and you get that full cyclonic effect around the eye, that is when you know you've got a storm of epic proportions.
Mike, I want something that you hit about this. Okay. From the outer side to the outer side of that storm, we're talking 650, 700 miles?
Easily, yeah. You're looking
Look at how big that thing is, brother.
Now remember, it's moving to the northwest. So
right.
You're looking at an impact of on the west side of New Orleans, but you can easily if you were to take, again, just ballpark it from the center of the storm
Right.
to the outer rain bands, and I'm talking in the central dense overcast,
right.
like that, you're talking about the strongest part of the storm stretching from New Orleans all the way to the Alabama border. If you look at it. So Bay St.
You know how
Louis,
far that is? That is exactly 150 miles.
right, and that's exactly what
And
they're
that's
saying.
what the problem is.
And that's what they're saying. Right now, hurricane force winds extend 30 miles from the center of circulation. Tropical storm force winds 125. Folks, these numbers will increase as we go through the night. I wouldn't be surprised if you have hurricane force winds 50 to 60 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds 200 miles from the center, based on the strength of the storm as it increases, going again, Cat 1 now, Cat 2, Cat 3. It will be a Cat 4 in less than 24 hours before it hits the Louisiana coast.
Michael, thank you for that great weather update. It's been a great show. Just want to go over a couple of comments. Renee Stegall-Shaw, of course, facing a hurricane. She's got a funny for me. David never says no to a donut. Okay, yeah, well, I don't, Mike. You know that's true.
That makes
Yeah, boy, you ain't kidding. Byron Bagwell says, "Get out, get out, get out, get out." And I lost my comments there. There was a couple of Katie's friends. Well, I'm trying to get them back. I don't know what the heck happened.
Let me help you there.
Let me help me out there, brother. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, so Byron says, Vincent Tucker, and I do have family there. I have family and friends on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I'm sure David does too. Yes, we do. I'm heeding them to get out. My dad lives in Van Cleve. I think he's already getting the hell out, and that's 35 miles inland from the coast.
Yeah.
And that's in Mississippi.
Right.
Yes.
So he's getting the hell out.
They're going to have strong Cat 2 hurricane conditions.
Yeah.
In
30
Van
miles
Cleve.
ain't nothing on 100 miles.
I want to ask Renee. Renee, are you leaving? Please tell me you've left Pascagoula. I'm hoping that you have. I hope that you do. John Garner, I don't know where he lives. He lives in Alabama or Mississippi now. He's one of my classmates as well. Byron says, "Oh, Biden has Bush's weather machine." Storm surge numbers are above sea level. Folks need to also consider the elevation of their property when determining if the water will reach them or not. Katrina's storm surge was 18 feet. Our elevation is 12 feet. We had 6 feet of water in our house. That's exactly right. Remember, I told you my dad's house,
Yes.
2.5 miles from the beach. 2.5 miles from the beach, 4 to 6 foot of water in his house. 2.5 miles from the beach.
And I tell you, I went out there.
Katrina, that's Katrina.
I went out there through Louisiana, going
Yeah.
out to California after Katrina. This was like in December. And on the way back, I didn't see it on the way there, but on the way back going across the bayou, I'm driving, across the bridge, and I look. There is a shrimp boat,
Yep,
another
in the trees.
10, 15 feet above the highway, up in the trees.
Yeah, up in the trees.
And that just shows
Yeah.
you how high the storm surge can be.
What he was just saying, but this is nothing to play with.
When I deployed to Hurricane Andrew back in 1992, again through fire rescue, we saw. There was a shark in the middle of
what?
Of US 1 going down through Homestead.
Big,
it was a decent size. It was 4 or 5 foot shark, and we were probably 8 miles from the coast.
Right.
The water had come up so high, with the storm, it had pushed sea life into areas that you would never see. And the winds were so strong that as we passed Tamiami Airport, one of the Miami-Dade fire rescue helicopters, and these were the big dogs. We're not talking one of the little bells. We're talking one of the big ones. All you could see of the helicopter was the tail rotor because it was vertically sitting through the roof of one of the hangars. It had picked up the helicopter and dumped it down through the roof. And we're talking, this was near Homestead. So it was Andrew was a massive storm. We learned a lot from Andrew that prepared us for future storms. Problem is that we got a little lackadaisical when Katrina hit because that was more of a localized issue. It was actually worse in certain areas, but New Orleans took the hit for that one. I sincerely believe and hope that we have learned from these storms and that people take this very seriously and that the federal government goes ahead and steps up and does this. Because if you haven't already declared a state of emergency, which I believe has happened, And I know that FEMA and regionals and states have already begun pre-positioning emergency services. So, for example, I know that there is at least 150 utility crews from around the state of Florida that are already pre-positioned in Pensacola to immediately go in as soon as the all clear is given to begin doing power restoration for the areas most severely hit.
Well, Michael, one thing that we didn't touch is when most people get injured is actually after the storm.
Valid point indeed.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Mitchell.
And the biggest issue with that is because it has a lot to do with exhaustion. Okay, so folks, it's summertime. It's humid. It's hot outside. You're trying to clear with chainsaws. You're trying to remove debris. You're trying to save your house.
Wildlife is crawling all over the place.
Yeah. So, remember that the only way to truly help others is to help yourself. And I hate to say this. This sounds so derogatory and pragmatic, but I don't mean it this way. But listen to me and take this to the spirit of which it's intended. The damage is going to happen. The damage is going to be done. There's nothing that you can do to stop Mother Nature with this type of system. If the damage is there, taking an extra day or two to try to remove debris is not going to make things any faster for you. But the steps you take now, tonight, the next 4 hours, the next 12 hours, the time it takes for you to gather your belongings, get your important papers, get cash, make sure you have cash on hand. ATMs are not going to work if the power is out. Get yourself cash, several $100s. Go get fuel. If you haven't already done so, it may be too late. Gas stations are probably already running low because everyone's starting to evacuate. This is the time now to plan on, I've got to know where my insurance is. I need to know where my vital documents are. Do you have your children's birth certificates?
Take pictures of everything.
Yeah, and take pictures. Use your phone and walk through each room and shoot a quick video of each room. Pan across each room. Save it to your phone. For God's sakes, take a charger with you, preferably one you can plug into your cigarette lighter. Well, I guess DC cord. They don't have cigarette lighters anymore. Plug it in, because when you are allowed back, you're going to want to go back into each room, if your house is still standing, I hope that it is, and do the exact same thing. You now have before and after photos, and if you want to make sure that you can settle with your insurance company quickly, document. Make sure that you take care of yourself before and after, because now you can get back on your feet faster because you've taken the steps to prepare yourself, your home, and your family to react both before and after the storm.
Right. And I want to say something really quick, Mitchell, if you don't mind. And all you gentlemen will attest to this. We are a news reporting show. We talk about news. We report news, as we're doing with this hurricane. We report our local news, as you say, Mitchell. We report national news. And I will tell you this. If I find out, or any of you gentlemen, or anybody watching this show finds out that there's price gouging going on out there,
it needs to be reported.
It needs to be reported. Let us know. Because I've got the guys that would love to throw that little pitch right in there on these people. So take pictures of that. Yes, email them to us. Get a hold of your local authorities. Shame, shame, shame on you business owners if you are price gouging these people trying to get out of harm's way, as Michael and Mitchell and Dave has already attested to. We'll be watching that. And it's something, do we got something, Mike?
Now, hang on a second. I just want to go ahead and let people know that there is a, if you believe that, and that's Oregon. Let's get back to where we have, here we go. There are telephone numbers that are established. Let me give you the number for disaster fraud. This is the number that you can call to report price gouging, hoarding, anything else that's illegal during a local state of emergency. That number is, and we're going to get this typed up on the screen because Dave's going to type this on the screen. Right. If you can screenshot this, save this to your phone because this may come in handy for you. So the telephone number, and we'll get it up on the screen for you shortly, it's going to be 866-720-5721. Again, that is 866-720-5721. This is from the Department of Justice of the United States. This is the number that they use to receive complaints of gouging and hoarding, and then they turn around and notify local law enforcement to go out and rectify this one. If it is determined to be a blatant violation during a state of emergency, it becomes a federal crime. And folks,
Nice.
there's a huge difference between local charges and federal charges. And so I can assure you that is significant. Again, write this number down if you can. It is the Department of Justice Hoarding and Gouging Hotline. It is 866-720-5721. We're going to get this up on the screen for you. If you get a chance, screenshot that slide for you so you can save that number, jot it down. Just hold on to it because, again, all we're concerned about not only is your safety, but your well-being. And protecting everyone from price gouging is just as important as protecting yourself from the elements.
That's exactly
Michael,
right.
David, I'm glad that we're talking about this tonight because, we're very lucky that we're going to miss this storm.
Yeah.
But we never know what's on the horizon for Florida.
Yeah.
We might go a week or two and boom, we're going to be affected by another system, tropical storm, a hurricane. And so you can use these same things that we're talking about for Louisiana for our own good here in the good state of Florida.
Yeah.
And it's funny you should say that
Okay.
because there are other systems that are floating around out in the Atlantic. Now, we still have Tropical Depression 10. It is barely hanging on. It is moving towards the north. That is not something we need to be aware of. However, the dust is starting to ease off from the Sahara and African continent, so we would not, and we're getting to the peak of the hurricane season, folks. The peak of the season is September 15th through the 18th. So we're not even at the peak of the season
No.
yet. There is more activity coming off in the Cape Verde Islands, coming off the African coast. We're monitoring it, but don't think that, we missed the big one. You missed the big one for the month of August.
Right.
September starts next week.
The week. That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, that was a great job. I'm glad we did talk about all these things. I just hate to see that price gouging. If you're a business owner and you're listening up in the Tennessee, Missouri, wherever area, open your doors up to these people, man. You're going to get this back, man. You're going to get this back 10 times over if you do the right thing and help these folks get a nice place to stay, be able to get some meals, take care of their families. I assure you, Dave Holland, Michael Heater, Mitchell Gunner, and the absent Byron Bagwell, that will come to you back tenfold over.
Right.
So, Vincent Tucker, tell your mom, Wiggins, I would still get her out of there. It's still a little ways up there, but I'd get them out. Escataba, definitely. That's right next door to Pascagoula. Tell them to please leave and go somewhere else for a little while. Renee says rivers and estuaries take the storm surge on as well, which is how properties so far inland get inundated. That's true. No. Katrina set the Grand Casino in Gulfport, Mississippi. Yes, it did. Right in the middle of Highway 90. Mike, you was over there. Did you see that?
I remember that.
The Grand Casino where it was in the middle of Highway 90. Michael says yes, he was over there helping. He's seen that. And that's exactly right. All right, guys. Hey, it's been a really great show tonight. Thank y'all for a great program. Dave, thank you for the producing. Michael, thank you for the directing and the weather. Mitchell, thank you for our guest, Katie Sinus, coming on. Sinus. Yeah, Sinus. All right. The missing Byron Bagwell, he'll be back with us Tuesday. Just a preview on Tuesday. We got an election, a very important one.
Yes.
We'll have our results on. Also, we'll have Michael Heater giving us an update on how things went and fared on this storm and other things as well. God bless you. What you got, Dave?
I was wondering if maybe you can give us an update on the rib thing this morning.
Absolutely, real quick. Real quick. We had 10 participants get in, $100 a piece. The $100 made it $1,000. That all went straight to shop with a cop. Everybody cooked their ribs. I was one of the judges, along with Rachel and Denny Thompson and Gordon and Jacob Swaggerty. And we judged the ribs. And we had, what's the guy's name there? What's his name? Michael again. I forgot anyway. Jay won first place, and Jason Smith, Gordon's brother, came in second.
Wow. I heard there was a big fire truck there for the kids.
There was a fire truck called Funtastic Brigade. It is owned by one of our very own, Michael Heater and John Probst. And it was out there. It was in full force, seeing the lights going. I know Michael had to leave for a little while to come do this and get a lot of things ready. But did you have a lot of kids get up on that thing?
We had about 20 children that showed up, and kids had a blast. For those of you that, and if you follow us on Facebook, you saw some very happy children who got the chance to play on the fire engine.
Yep.
We're really excited. This is a brand new venture for us. This is a brand new business in Bradford County. Bradford County and the city of Stark have embraced us and welcomed us in because they're all about supporting local business and helping small businesses get off the ground. So we're real excited about what the future holds for the Fantastic Fire Brigade. We're looking forward to some really great things happening in the near future. And if I may say, for those of you that are tuning in and you want to kind of escape with everything that's going on around the world, obviously Byron will have a full update on Tuesday night like that one. I got 2 things that you can do that will take your mind away and bring smiles to your faces. One is on Wednesday night, and the other one is on Thursday. We have 2 nights of trivia. First one at Wednesday night, Fun Point. I'm your host out there. We have a great time with a little appetizer poker and some really fun times going on. And then Thursday night is team trivia at the Downtown Grill with the man himself, David Rodgers. We like to tag team it back and forth. We have a blast. Last Wednesday night was our inaugural night. Had a great turnout of people. I was very surprised, honestly.
Had 6 teams?
Had 5 teams that turned out here. We're expecting even more this week. We always have 5 or 6 teams that turn out at the grill.
Right.
If you have not enjoyed a chance to just get out and enjoy great food and a lot of fun doing trivia, join us Wednesday nights at Fun Point and Thursday nights at the grill.
And to back that up, after Thursday night, we are all going to be traveling over to Union County for Tornado football. That's going to be happening over there at 7:30 over at Union County. The Tornadoes are going to go travel to Lake Butler to play them. We'll have the radio call, me and Big Kevin Howe. So a lot of things going on this week. Plus college football is really starting next week. Even though it started this week, next week we're going to be talking a lot about that.
We'll be talking.
And I'm happy to say that Harry's business has finally opened up
7 days a week.
Sunday and Monday.
7 days a week now, right?
7 days a week, guys. So
Hey, get your hair cut 7 days a week.
Is it about time?
It's getting
a little bit more.
He says a little bit more. All right.
A little bit more.
All right. Guys, God bless you. Let's get ready for another great show Tuesday night. God bless you guys. Y'all have a great weekend, a great Saturday. Anybody on the Gulf Coast, please stay out of harm's way. God bless you. Good night.